This is the time of year when TCR titles all over the world are decided. Our trip around the planet to discover who's already a champion and titles yet to be settled will start in Europe with TCR Europe. Then WTCR, TCR Germany, TCR Italy and TCR Russia. We'll go to Asia for TCR Japan, to North America for the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, and to Uruguay for TCR South America. Welcome to Inside the World of TCR, Episode 25. Monza, the Temple of Speed, hosted the penultimate meeting of TCR Europe. In the first race, pole sitter Franco Girolami headed the field into the Turn 1 chicane, but Jack Young made a poorer start from P2 on the grid and was passed by Felice Jelmini, who'd started from P3. On lap 2, series leader Mikel Azcona, who'd started 7th on the grid, tried to overtake Dusan Borkovic for 3rd, but he outbraked himself, went off track and rejoined in 5th. But the Spaniard recovered lap by lap, and on lap 6 he overtook Coronel for 3rd with this very clean overtaking move into the first chicane. Monza is traditionally a very hard circuit for tyres. One of the first victims was Jelmini, who was running in 2nd but had to retire on lap 8. In the last part of the race, Azcona and Girolami were battling for the lead and for the championship. This was how they arrived into the last turn on the last lap. Finally, Girolami managed to keep his lead and grab his 2nd win of the season. Tom Coronel completed the podium. Jimmy Claret was 4th after a tight battle with Sami Taufik, who finished 5th in front of Matto Homola. In the second race, it was pole sitter Nicolas Bart who was first into the chicane at Turn 1, ahead of Jimmy Claret. Azcona made a better start than Matto Homola and so lay in 3rd place. But the best start of all was made by Girolami. From 10th on the grid, the Argentinian driver was already in 4th place as the field streamed out of the chicane. On lap 1, Mikel Azcona slightly touched Jimmy Claret as he passed him for 2nd. The manoeuvre would be sanctioned a few laps later by the stewards with a 5-second penalty. On lap 3, Girolami passed Azcona for 2nd place, although the Volcano Motorsport team would later protest that the move had been made under yellow flags. At the start of lap 4, Girolami flung the Honda into Turn 1 and went around the outside of Bart to move into the race lead. On lap 5, Mikel Azcona and Nicolas Bart were side by side on the straight. The thrilling duel ended with the Spaniard overtaking the Belgian into the braking zone at the first chicane. On lap 8, Azcona made a rare mistake and ran wide at Roger, dropping behind Homola and Bart. But that didn't stop the Spaniard, who by the end of the same lap was already in front of the pair again and ready to chase Girolami. Just as in the first race, Girolami and Azcona finished 1st and 2nd under the checkered flag. But after the race, the stewards awarded Girolami a 30-second penalty for overtaking Azcona under yellows. This, added to the 5-second penalty for Azcona for the collision with Jimmy Claret, made Homola the winner of the race in front of Coronel and Young, with Azcona able to finish 4th. The TCR Europe season finale then took place in Barcelona. Series leader Mikel Azcona started the first race from pole, and with his only rival for the title, Franco Girolami, at the back of the grid after a technical problem in qualifying, the race was a formality. Azcona duly made a good start and led into Turn 1, while Teddy Claret passed Taufik for 2nd place away from the grid, and so it was the Peugeot in P2 as the field streamed through the first corner. On the opening lap, the Hyundai of Felice Jelmini made contact with Tom Coronel's Audi. The steering on the Elantra was broken by the contact, and that resulted in Jelmini hitting the Cupra of Felipe Fernandez into the gravel at Turn 11. The safety car was deployed while both cars could be recovered. Racing eventually resumed at the start of lap 7, but there were no changes in the top 4 positions until the end. And so Mikel Azcona grabbed his 6th race win of the year, securing the 2021 TCR Europe Drivers' title with 1 race in hand. Teddy Claret finished 2nd, Taufik 3rd, Bart 4th, Callejas 5th and Langeveld 6th. For Azcona, it was the second time he'd won the championship after he took the title in 2018. In the Mini Parc Fermé, it was time for celebration. In the second race, Klim Gavrilov started from pole on the reversed grid and was first to turn 1. Young made a better start from P3 than Callejas from P2, and so it was the British driver who was behind Gavrilov, with Callejas third and Benani fourth. Gavrilov defended his lead from Jack Young for much of the race, but a drive-through penalty for not respecting track limits put Young out of contention. So Azcona's teammate Klim Gavrilov took his maiden victory, becoming the 8th different winner from the 14 races this season. Post-race penalties then saw Callejas, second at the flag, disqualified for having an underweight car, and Sami Taufik dropped from 3rd to 15th thanks to a 30-second penalty for causing a collision. In the end, Mehdi Benani was second and Teddy Claret completed the podium. Niels Langeveld was 4th, Girolami 5th and Joachim Gallas 6th. In the championship, Girolami finished second behind Azcona, but in front of Langeveld. WTCR was back on track in Most in the Czech Republic at the beginning of October. Ahead of the first race, Esteban Gurrieri had been handed a 2-place grid penalty for holding up Tom Coronel in qualifying, and so the Argentinian started from 9th. Local guest driver Petr Fulin started from pole in his Cupra Leon Competition, but the Czech driver had a slow getaway due to a clutch issue, which gave Nestor Girolami an easy run from outside of the front row and into the lead. Into turn 1, Fulin and Ivan Muller came together. Fulin spun and collided with the Audi of Nathaniel Berton, with both drivers out on the spot and the safety car deployed. In the resulting melee, Gurrieri found himself in second position. After the restart, the Argentinian was put under pressure by Jan Erlechet. Even some bumper-to-bumper manoeuvres, as in this case, didn't allow the Frenchman to find a way past. There were no changes to the top positions in the rest of the race, and so Girolami grabbed his first race win since Zolder last year, ahead of Gurrieri and Erlechet. Muller was 5th in front of Björk and Vernet. Erlechet extended his championship lead to 18 points over teammate Santiago Urrutia, who finished down in 12th. In the second race, Mikulic was able to pass pole sitter Mikel Azcona at the first corner, when the Spaniard made a mistake and slid his car on cold tyres. Behind, there was carnage, as the Honda of Nestor Girolami and the Hyundai of Gabriele Tarquini made contact, with broken suspension on Tarquini's car sending it clattering out of control into the Lynk & Co cars of Ted Björk and Santiago Urrutia. It was a domino effect, and Björk hit Rob Huff's Cupra. With Tarquini, Urrutia and Huff all stuck in the gravel traps, the race was red flagged on lap 4, before it was resumed behind the safety car. When the race restarted, Mikulic led the way in front of Azcona, and behind them Vernet looked on course to score good points in 6th. But he was given a drive-through penalty as his car wasn't resting on its wheels at the 5-minute board, which dropped him to 15th. Mikulic went on to win his first race victory since Malaysia in 2019, when he won the WTCR title, and Azcona was second in front of Gurrieri. Erlechet's 4th place kept the Frenchman in the lead of the championship, 20 points clear of Gurrieri. WTCR then moved on to Pau in France for rounds 11 and 12. In the first race, Vervish made a perfect start and led the way into turn 1 ahead of Björk, despite a tight squeeze into the first chicane, while behind the top 3, Esteban Gurrieri was able to get past his teammate Nestor Girolami away from the grid to take 4th. Into the first corner, championship leader Jan Erlechet's Cyan Racing Lynk & Co made side-by-side contact with Tiago Monteira's Honda at the exit, which saw the Portuguese driver spin off into the barriers with broken suspension. On lap 14, the two Hyundai cars of Norbert Mikulic and Jean-Carl Vernet swapped positions, promoting Vernet to 6th. Vervish won in front of Björk and Tarquini, becoming the first driver to take a repeat win in the 2021 WTCR season. Gurrieri was 4th in front of Girolami and Vernet. At the start of the second race, Vernet managed to drive straight past pole sitter Ivan Muller, while championship leader Jan Erlechet made a poor start and fell behind Gurrieri, Girolami and the race 1 winner Vervish. On lap 17, Gurrieri and Vervish made contact into turn 10, with Vervish tapped into a half spin as Gurrieri just narrowly missed the tyre stack. On the following lap, Urrutia and Vervish both passed Mikulic to move into 3rd and 4th. On lap 19, Gurrieri and Erlechet came together at the turn 10 chicane, with Erlechet taking the escape road while Gurrieri knocked the tyre stack onto the circuit, causing a late safety car. The race resumed with 1 lap to go, and Erlaché was hit again by Guerrieri, managing superbly to stay on track after going sideways, a manoeuvre which was reminiscent of the style of his uncle, Ivan Müller. Immediately afterwards, Guerrieri himself was knocked into a half-spin by Gabriele Tarquini's Hyundai, but was also able to continue. Up front, Venet took the checkered flag ahead of Müller and Urrutia, while Vervish was 4th, and Erlaché just pipped Mikulich to the line by 73 thousandths of a second. Along with race 2 at the Nürburgring, this was the 2nd win of the season for Venet. Erlaché continues to lead the championship, now just 16 points clear of Venet, who moved past Guerrieri, now 22 points behind. The 5th meeting of the season of TCR Germany took place at the Sachsenring. Dominik Fugel made a great start from pole, led the field into turn 1 and immediately started to build a good gap from his rivals. Martin Andersson, Marcel Fugel and René Kircher were fighting for P2 when there was contact between Fugel and Andersson. It appeared that the contact had damaged the Honda, as both Andersson and Kircher were able to pass Fugel for 2nd and 3rd positions with apparent ease 1 lap later. For Dominik Fugel, it was a dominant victory, finishing over 14 seconds ahead of Andersson. Both title contenders, Luca Engstler and Eric Scalvini, had races to forget, scoring only 1 and 4 points respectively. At the start of the 2nd race, Dominik Fugel got away well from pole, with Luca Engstler passing his Hyundai Team Engstler teammate Nico Gruber around the outside of turn 1 to lie in 2nd place, while there were some contacts behind. The opening lap saw contact between Patrick Singh and René Kircher, while the safety car was deployed to allow the recovery of Günther Benninger's car, which was stranded in the gravel. On lap 15, Marcel Fugel, who was attacking Gruber for 3rd place, slowed and headed for the pits. Despite a 5-second penalty for a jump start, Dominik Fugel took his 2nd win of the weekend. Engstler was far behind in 2nd and Gruber completed the podium. Andersson was 4th, Jahr 5th and Scalvini only 6th. In the drivers' points, Dominik Fugel moved up into 2nd place behind Engstler. TCR Germany then moved to Hockenheim for the 2nd time this season. On lap 15 of the 1st race, René Kircher, Philipp Regensburger and Albert Legutko came together in turn 4. Regensburger crashed into the barriers, while Legutko and Kircher were able to continue, with the latter losing his front bumper on the track. It was Luca Engstler who won the race after starting from pole and leading a Hyundai 1-2-3 ahead of Karklis and Andersson, with Dominik Fugel a distant 4th. In the 2nd race on lap 7, Legutko's Honda Civic made contact with Ruben Fernandez's Cupra Leon Competition that pulled over with broken suspension. That prompted the safety car into action until the end of lap 10. Eric Scalvini won the race, his 4th win in his maiden season in TCR Germany, while Dominik and Marcel Fugel completed the podium. Luca Engstler finished 4th, and with only 1 event left before the end of the season and a gap of 83 points over Dominik Fugel in 2nd, he was crowned 2021 champion. Mikey Taylor and Chris Miller, at the wheel of their Audi RS3 LMS, won the TCR class in the 9th round of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge at the Virginia International Raceway. This was the 2nd victory for the JDC Miller Motorsports pairing after their win in the season opener at Daytona. Actually, Taylor and Miller are the only team that have been able to win more than once in this year's series. Behind the winners, there was a thrilling battle for the podium positions that ended with Simpson and Johnson winning a 4-way final sprint to take 2nd place. They beat Mark Wilkins and Harry Gottsacker by just 5/10. At the end of the 2-hour race, Taylor drove the Audi to take the checkered flag with a margin of 2.467 seconds over Simpson and Johnson. The BHA Veloster finished 5th, 4/10 behind the Copeland's Motorsport car, and so Taylor Hagler and Michael Lewis retained their lead in the standings with a margin of 230 points over their teammate Parker Chase, while Gottsacker and Wilkins are 3rd, 30 points behind Chase. The title fight will be a family affair between the 3 Brian Herter Autosport cars, with 350 points at stake in the final round at Road Atlanta on November the 12th.
Nice work.
TCR Italy's season finale took place in Tuscany at the Mugello circuit. With the battle for the title still open, it was Antti Buri who started from pole. The Finn led into the first corner from Kevin Chekon, Eric Brigliadori and Salvatore Tavano, who made a great getaway from P9 and benefited from a poor start by Ruben Volt from P4. During the opening lap, Brigliadori, exiting from the Luco corner, lost control of his Audi RS3 LMS and spun, dropping to 7th. Further back, Marco Iannotta also spun, and with Riccardo Romagnoli and Dennis Babuin in the gravel, the safety car was deployed. The race restarted quite quickly, and Salvatore Tavano was very fast when the green flag was waved, managing to pass Kevin Chekon for second with this overtaking move just after the start line. Antiburi, meanwhile, had built a decent margin leading into the San Donato turn. A thrilling battle ensued, with Baldan, Subek, Brigliadori and Volt swapping positions several times, but on lap 5 Volt retired with a flat front tyre. On the same lap, the Austrian Sandro Subek, driving an Audi and who'd started 12th on the grid, challenged Nicola Baldan's Hyundai i30N into the San Donato bend and managed to pass him for 5th into the braking zone of the following turn, the Luco. 2 laps later, still at the San Donato bend, Subek moved another position up in the standings when he passed Michele Imberti for 4th with this move. At the end of lap 8, Subek advanced another place, passing Chekon for 3rd with this overtaking move over the start line. Immediately afterwards, Baldan overtook Imberti for 5th. Subek was by now unstoppable. Under pressure, Tavano missed the braking point into the Correntaio bend and opened the door for Subek to take P2. The final part of the race saw the trio of Tavano, Chekon and Baldan fighting for P3, but the race was neutralised by the safety car when Iannotta's Honda spun off after making contact with Poloni's Audi and remained stranded in the gravel. Racing didn't resume, and the field took the checkered flag behind the safety car, with Buri the winner from Subek, Tavano, Chekon, Baldan and Imberti. In the Mini Park Ferme, there were reasons to celebrate for Buri. Not only the victory, but also the lead of the championship with a margin of 9 points over Tavano and 15 on Chekon with just 1 race left. At the start of the last race of the championship, Matteo Poloni sprinted from pole position ahead of Michele Imberti. Behind them there was contact at turn 1 between Marco Iannotta and Nicola Baldan, with the latter pushed wide to collect Eric Brigliadori. Both Baldan's Hyundai and Brigliadori's Audi went crashing into the wall and the safety car was deployed. Racing resumed on lap 4, with Poloni leading from Imberti and Ruben Volt. The Estonian was quickly passed into the San Donato bend by Kevin Chekon on the inside. Immediately afterwards, Buri passed Tavano for 5th, trying not to lose contact with title contender Chekon. The action lasted only 1 lap before the safety car hit the track again, after Fabio Antoniello's Hyundai lost control into Arrabbiata 1 and crashed into the wall going into Arrabbiata 2. At the restart on lap 7, while Poloni kept control of Imberti in 2nd, there was a tough fight between Buri, Volt and Tavano, with Volt making contact with Buri into the San Donato. The Finn lost control of his Hyundai and moved down to 8th, compromising his chances of grabbing the title. On the same lap, Imberti managed to pass Poloni for the lead at the exit of the Savelli bend. Poloni lost 2 other positions just 2 corners later, when he was passed by Chekon and Volt, with the Estonian touching him as well as Chekon. On lap 8, Antiburi challenged Sandro Subek into the San Donato bend. A slight touch and the Finn passed the Austrian for 5th. Tavano, right behind, also benefited from the situation and overtook Subek for 6th. Buri moved up further places in the standings, and on lap 10 again into the San Donato bend. This was how he passed the young Estonian Ruben Volt for 3rd. Buri then began to close the gap from the leading duo, which forced Chekon to act. He passed Imberti for the lead on lap 13, securing a position that allowed him to grab the title. But on the last lap, with this move into the Poggio Secco bend, Buri managed to pass Imberti for 2nd, a position that allowed him to score enough points to keep the lead in the driver's standings. Chekon claimed the win, but the biggest joy was for Antiburi and the target competition team at the end of a race which was a real thriller. By finishing 2nd, the Finn managed to clinch the TCR Italy crown by just 1 point over Chekon. Imberti was 3rd, Tavano 4th, Poloni 5th and Volt 6th. Grabbing the 2021 drivers' title, Buri disrupted Tavano's winning streak in TCR Italy after 3 consecutive titles. But the champion abdicated with honour, ranking 3rd in the final standings, 15 points behind his successor. TCR Japan returned to Motegi Twin Ring for the 5th round, 50 days after the season's previous event. Okura took an authoritative victory in the Saturday Series race, the maiden win for him and his Alfa Romeo Giulietta Veloce. Hirobon finished in 3rd place, maintaining a leading margin of 42 points over Kato, and with only 30 points available in the season finale in Suzuka, this allowed him to clinch the Saturday Series title with 1 event to go. Hirobon then took a step forward to encore a 2nd crown in the Sunday Series, with victory in a very wet 2nd race which started behind the safety car. Kato built a 10-second margin over Hirobon, but then on lap 9 he spun, and Hirobon seized the opportunity to take the lead. Kato didn't give up and put the pressure on Hirobon, trying to find a gap to pass, but at the beginning of the last lap he made another mistake and lost contact. Hirobon duly won with a 1.5-second margin from Kato. Hirobon extended his lead in the standings to 18 points over Kato, and with 30 points on offer in the last event, the battle remains open. TCR Russia went to Fort Grozny for the 6th meeting of the season. Zakar Slutsky, starting from pole position, dominated the race in his Hyundai i30N, pocketing his 2nd win of the season. But it was a short-lived win, as after the race, Slutsky received a 30-second penalty for a jump start. Ivan Lukashevich, who'd taken the checkered flag in 3rd position, was then given a 30-second penalty for another jump start and was classified 11th. The race itself was quite processional, but on lap 10 the safety car was deployed following a collision that involved 3 cars of the super production class. During the last lap, Fokin and Mityev collided. Kalmanovic swerved in avoidance, and series leader Kirill Ladijin couldn't avoid hitting him. The Lada Sport driver got the worst of the incident and limped to the end in 11th position, which finally became 9th once Slutsky and Lukashevich were penalised. In the end, Uruguay inherited the victory, his maiden win in TCR Russia, while Maslenikov and Bragin were promoted to 2nd and 3rd. Kirill Ladijin versus Dmitry Bragin, the series leader starting 2nd versus his closest rival in the championship starting on pole. This was the story of the 2nd race. At the start, the pair retained their positions. Behind the leaders, the battle for 3rd was tight. Mikhail Mityeyev's Lada struggled to keep Egor Uruchev's Audi and Egor Fokin's Lada behind. Finally, on lap 9, Uruchev passed Mityev for P3. 1 lap later, Lev Tolkachov and Grigory Burlutsky made contact on the straight, and the latter pulled over with a broken front wheel. His Hyundai remained stranded across a curb for the remainder of the race. Bragin cruised to take his 2nd win of the season, while Ladijin put in a great effort to keep Uruchev at bay until the end. Mityev finished 4th, Fokin 5th, and Lukashevich 6th. With just 1 event left at Sochi at the end of October and 53 points on offer, Ladijin is now closer to clinching a 2nd consecutive title. His advantage has grown to 34 points over Bragin, while Slutsky has dropped to 3rd, 40 points adrift. The only other driver still in contention is Lukashevich, 4th, with a gap of 47 points. 3 weeks after its first visit to Uruguay, TCR South America remained in the country for its 4th event at El Pinar's Autodromo Victor Borat Fabini. At the start of the first race, Rodrigo Baptista sprinted into the lead and Pepe Oriola squeezed between Fluker's Hyundai and the pit wall to move into 2nd. After losing positions at the beginning of the race because of a short excursion off track, Jose Manuel Sapag moved up in the standings lap by lap. This was when he passed Rodrigo Fluker for 3rd. On the same lap, Gonzalo Riley, who was running in 7th, went off track and was stuck in the gravel. Rodrigo Baptista took the checkered flag with a margin of 9.5 seconds ahead of Oriola. Sapag completed the podium ahead of Reis, Martinez and Fontes. When the lights went out for the 2nd race, Otero sprinted from pole on the reversed grid to lead, while a poor start from Adalberto Baptista saw him drop several positions after starting from P2. Oriola made a great start and moved into 3rd place behind Fontes. It then didn't take much for Oriola to grab 2nd place. Still on the first lap, the Spaniard passed the Uruguayan driver. At the end of the first lap, Gonzalo Riley went off track while battling for 4th. On lap 3, Oriola took the lead from Otero after passing the Lynk & Co car with this move. On the following lap in the same corner, race 1 winner Rodrigo Baptista, after starting 10th on the reversed grid, passed Otero for second and started to chase Oriola for the lead. Immediately afterwards, Oriola slowed with a broken front suspension and retired, which elevated Rodrigo Baptista into the lead. On lap 9, after contact between Fontes and the Alfa Romeo of Diego Martinez, the Lynk & Co hit the barriers heavily and the safety car was called into action. On lap 16, Rodrigo Flucker was running third and braked himself and went straight onto the grass. He was able to rejoin but was passed by Sapag and so dropped to fourth. Rodrigo Baptista pulled away and took the win by almost 10 seconds from Otero, with Sapag completing the podium. Flucker was fourth, Reis fifth and Martinez sixth. As a result of his 2 victories and Oriola's retirement, Baptista has now moved into the lead of the standings and has an 8-point advantage over Oriola. Reis is a further 39 points behind in third place. That then was Inside the World of TCR episode 25. We'll be back at the beginning of December for the last episode of the season, but for now, it's goodbye.